What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys the best creative maps to improve at Fortnite. These maps are going to range from building and editing maps to aim maps and fighting maps and pretty much everything you could need to become an insane player in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 3. And obviously all the codes are going to be included when I talk about each map. Before we get into it though, be sure to drop a like if the video helps you out, subscribe to the channel if you're new and want to see more. And lastly guys, if you want to show some extra support, it's always appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It only takes a couple seconds to type in and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said and without further ado, let's get into our first map. So hopping into the first section of this video, and we're going to start off with building and editing maps. These are only going to be two maps, one of which is a brand new map that just came out. And after this section, we're going to go into aim maps and then finally fighting maps. But getting into our first map for this video, and this one is going to be Raiders Mechanics Map V3. This map by Raider464 is one of the most popular mechanics maps in the world, and it's actually been that way for quite a while now. This map has a huge variety of things. For example, you can use the edit crosshair training section to improve your editing speed and precision. You can use the piece control tunnels to improve your box fighting mechanics and piece control fundamentals. You can also use the piece control X peak section, which is one of my favorites, and you can use this one to practice a big variety of piece control techniques in safe ways. If you select a certain setting, you can actually have the bot shoot you if you peek for too long in this one. So that means you have to piece control in a safe way and then go for a safe peek in order to not get shot. And that actually helps an absolute ton when it comes to realistic fights. The fighting sections in this map are also really good. The map has a box fight training section where you're supposed to box fight against AI, and you can use all sorts of piece control, peeks, and whatever else like you would in a real fight. It's also really good for fighting under pressure, of course. The AI bot free build is a similar concept with AI spread around the map you can edit on and pretend to fight. That one's also a pretty useful section. And the last section is also a really nice free build section where you can customize your speed. You can either slow down your speed to practice your fundamentals and learn techniques, or you can speed it up to practice the speed of your mechanics and try to get really good at doing things quickly. Or you could just do normal speed and free build like you normally would, but overall it gives you a lot of options. With all that said, Raiders Mechanics map is definitely one of the most well-rounded creative maps, so I'll go ahead and put up the code on screen right now. Getting into our second map for this video, and this one is actually a brand new map which came out I think 3 or 4 days before this video is being posted, and it has a ton of unique scenarios to improve your building and editing skills. And this map is actually going to be by the YouTuber Jiven TV, who I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of. He makes a lot of competitive based content and he makes tips and tricks videos, a lot of awesome stuff, so be sure to check him out. With that said, he has a ton of scenarios in this map. One of my favorites is the reactive tunneling, which actually gives you a direction to tunnel into. So basically you'll box up, you'll be given an arrow, and that's where you box up next. This has a regular mode and a fast mode, and it helps a ton when it comes to reacting fast to situations in endgame and being consistent with your tunnels. Of course, these tunnels don't only apply to endgame, but especially if you're a competitive player or you want to become one, this should be incredibly helpful. Even if you're just a regular player though, this helps out with box fights, you know, tunneling away in a fight if you need to heal, and all sorts of stuff like that. It's very applicable to the real game. The next room is the free build with bots, which is similar to the one in Raiders, but it has targets constantly spawning higher up, so you can practice your retakes, piece control, and more all in this one simple spot. That's also another really useful one. Although I'm mostly talking about this as a mechanics map, it also does have an aim trainer with static targets to improve your click timing and moving targets to practice tracking. So although this section isn't about aim, it's definitely worth mentioning that this has a really good aim section. So if you want to kind of halfway toss this map into the aim maps category, it could be worth using. Our next section is the headshot box fight, where you're actually spawned in a box with an orb, and you're meant to tunnel over to that orb or build over to it in some way, and then you simply edit on it and shoot it. You can use piece control, box fight techniques, or pretty much anything else you want to use. This room is definitely a nice way to potentially warm up and get some really solid practice when it comes to close range. And the last section here is the guided free build, which is basically an adaptable free build where the room guides you where to go. Think of it like a piece control tunnel but with free building. So those are the main sections as of now, but Jiven did say he plans to update the map, so who knows, maybe there's more to it when you're watching this. But even with these 5 sections alone, it's definitely a fantastic map, and I recommend you give it a shot. Also, consider checking out the original video on his channel since he does have some specific drills he recommends. But overall, it's a fantastic practice map and it should help you out a bunch, so I'll go ahead and put the code up on screen right now. Getting into our second section for this video though, and this one is going to be all about aim maps. For this video, we're going to have 2 aim maps, some of the classic aim maps that are really popular, and honestly, these ones should be all you need to get pretty good aim. Starting out, and we've got Raiders Aim Training map. This one is by the same creator of the first map, which is Raider464, and this map has been around for a decent while now, and it's one of the most popular aim maps in Fortnite. It has a very good variety of scenarios, and specifically it has targets that act similar to humans. Some of them are in classic aim training formats where you just shoot at orbs or something, and others are in aim duel formats. And when it comes to getting better aim, a big piece that a lot of aim maps are missing nowadays is that they're not realistic. They have the aspect of click timing or tracking and all these different things, but they don't actually replicate what a real player does in a real game. So although a lot of them are helpful, they don't exactly have that one aspect that definitely helps a lot. This map does, and it's definitely one of the most advanced and useful aim trainers in the game currently. Really, there's not too much else for me to say about it because it's just a great map overall, so I'll go ahead and put up the code on screen for you guys. Getting into our second aim map though, and this one is the Scavic Aim Trainer by Donwazi. This map has been one of the most popular aim trainers in Fortnite for a very, very long time. This one has a ton of variety. It has some scenarios that are specific to the real game. It has some scenarios that are tracking, click timing, target switching, and all sorts of different stuff. You could kind of compare the structure of this map to Raiders, but it just has different scenarios and whatnot. Overall, both of them are really, really useful aim maps, and I would definitely recommend you use them both if you're trying to get really good aim. So with that said, I'll go ahead and put up the code of the Scavic Aim Trainer right now. With that said, guys, I know the aim maps were pretty quick, but those ones really didn't take that much explanation. Overall, they're both really, really good. And with that said, getting into our final section for this video, and this one is going to be fighting maps. For this video, we're going to have 3 different fighting maps, all of which are pretty realistic and should help you to improve your fighting in Fortnite an absolute ton. And starting out, we're going to be talking about a brand new map, which is Kenbean's Speed Realistic 1v1. In this 1v1 map, one player spawns outside of a box and one spawns getting pushed by them. So basically, one of you is playing aggressive and one of you is playing defensive. I guess this map kind of replicates a typical ranked fight where one player is pushing the other, and it sets you up in a position where it's hard to simply crank for height and play it like a build fight, so it definitely has good carryover to regular fights. Overall, this map is basically meant to replicate what you would run into in an average fight in a regular game. And of course, this map and all the other maps I'm going to be talking about have a matchmaking option, so you can play with a random player or you can pick a friend. If you're a pretty average level player, then matchmaking is probably going to be best, but if you're a higher level player and you need really good players to go against, then you may want to go against friends. Totally up to you, but I just wanted to bring that up. And overall, guys, this map is absolutely fantastic, and I definitely recommend you give it a shot. I'll go ahead and put up the code to Kenbean Speed Realistic 1v1 on screen right now. Getting into our next fighting map though, and this one is going to be another great one, which is Raiders Realistic Box Fights. In a similar sense to the Kenbean's map, this map puts you in close range and requires you to get into a box fight pretty quick. It's basically like a more efficient version of your typical 1v1 realistics, and really I don't have a crazy amount to say about this map because it's just a really good map. It doesn't set you up in an exact situation like the Kenbean's map does, but I think that's both a positive and a negative because on one hand, Kenbean's map prepares you for a specific situation, which is super common, while in this map the fight kind of just develops in a random way. So they both kind of have their pros and cons, but ultimately what you're getting at with both of the maps is a close range fight that is realistic to the actual ranked mode. And yeah, I think this map should help you guys out, so I'll put the code up on screen right now. And finally, guys, getting into our last map for this video, and this one is going to be the finest realistic 1v1 map. This map is one I recommend all the time, and it's a very, very intuitive map. A realistic 1v1 is, as the name implies, a very realistic form of 1v1. It has realistic loadouts, HP, materials, and overall it's one of the most simple ways to practice fighting. It's basically meant to exactly replicate what you would run into in a mid-game fight. The only real downside of this map is that sometimes you're going to have people who crank up super high or play in weird ways, but that's something you run into in regular games as well, so you might as well practice it. And of course, there are 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4 variations of this map. I'm sure you can find them just by looking them up, but in terms of improving at fighting as an individual, I recommend just using the 1v1. Of course, if you want to do it with a team or something like that, you can find his other maps. Overall though, realistic 1v1s are some of the most tried and tested ways of improving at fighting. A ton of pros do them, and a lot of really good players use them all the time to become a better fighter, so I definitely recommend you give them a shot. So I'll go ahead and put up the code on screen right now. And with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for all of our creative maps for this video. Overall, that's 5 different maps we discussed, ranging from building and editing to aim to fighting. And hopefully by using all of these maps, or at least a decent variety of them, you should see some giant improvements in your overall gameplay. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel as well if you're new and you want to see more, and let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see next on the channel. And finally, guys, if you want to show some extra support, it's always appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It only takes a couple seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.